What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. And for you guys who are new here, welcome to the channel. My name is Fred, and I've been a big football fan for the past 19 years. And I created this channel to share all my FPL knowledge and tips with you guys weekly. And in this video today, I'm gonna show you the teams that I would build if I were using my free hit or my wild card for the double game week 19. I just used my free hit in the double or in the blank game week 18, this game week that is right now when I'm recording this video. And I'm not gonna use any of my ships for next game week because I've been planning for the past few weeks the transfers that I'm just gonna make for the double game week. But if you haven't done that and you really want to use your free hit or your wild card, I'm gonna show you the teams that I personally will build for this game week. So let's start. Alright, so let's start with the free hit team, if you're gonna use your free hit ship this week. Since this is a double game week, a lot of teams are playing 2 games this game week, and therefore for the free hit ship I would of course target those teams, or most of the teams that play a double game week. There's one team that I was planning to use both for my team, but also if you're gonna use the free hit or wild card, that just recently got news that one of their games have been postponed. We'll get into that team a little bit later. But to start off, in the goal for a free hit team, I would go for Fabianski. There is a little bit of concerns if he's gonna play or not. We just have to wait and see. But if he does play, I think that he's by far the best option this game week. Of course, there are other goalkeepers. You can go for Ederson, who I think is definitely going to be a good option as well. But he's more expensive, and I would rather spend or use the city players in other areas than the goalkeeper. I think Fabianski has, as a goalkeeper, probably the best schedule or the best 2 teams playing against in this game week. Burnley, who kept 2 clean sheets in the last 6 game weeks, and West Bromwich, who have let's look at the stats here. West Bromwich have conceded 14 goals in the last 6 game weeks, and have kept no clean sheets, and they're bottom on shots and shots on target in the whole league in the last 6 game weeks. So West Bromwich is like, if you're playing West Bromwich, you want to have defenders against West Bromwich, as well as you want to have attacks, of course. That's the team you want to target. So I think Fabianski is a great option for this game week, especially if you're free hitting. For the defenders, for the same reason, I would double up on the West Ham defense. I would go for Kufal. If you have extra cash, you can go for Cresswell, who also, I think he takes both free kicks and corners sometimes. So he has more potential of getting assists from set pieces. But Kufal looks pretty good when he's playing. In the beginning of the season, he was really attacking. Then he came back a little bit, or he wasn't going up as much. He didn't contribute as much in the attack. But now in the past game weeks when I watched him play, he looks pretty good. So for 4.7 million, I think he's a great defender to have in your team, especially in this double game week when they play Burnley and West Bromwich. It's great. For the second defender I would go for Cancelo. I would definitely target Manchester City defenders in this double game week. Cancelo, in my opinion, might be the best option. You do have Diaz for the same price, who gets a lot of bonus points. But Diaz is pretty much, he keeps the clean sheet and gets the points for the clean sheet. And unless Manchester City scores more than 2 goals, which they haven't done I think they've done it in 2 games this season against Chelsea and Burnley. Otherwise they scored maximum 1 or 2 goals per game, and therefore usually the defenders gets the bonus points because they win with 1-0, 2-0, and defenders get bonus points. But if they will win 5-0, 4-0 and the defenders doesn't score, of course the attackers are going to get more bonus points. But Diaz is good for bonus points and clean sheet, but Cancelo, when he plays, he looks like he's going to get an assist or even a goal every now and then. Yesterday at the games to Brighton, he had a great shot on target. His shot wasn't great, but the opportunity was great, and he just looks really good. So Cancelo is my number 1 City defender to target, and they play Crystal Palace and Aston Villa. And Crystal Palace are the 3rd worst in the league in amount of shots in the past 6 game weeks, and they only scored 4 goals in the last 6 games, I think it is. if I'm not correct, and then they have conceded 12 goals. So Crystal Palace is team target right now as well. Aston Villa is a bit more tricky. I think they only conceded 3 goals in the past 6 game week or something like that. But they have conceded the most shots on target. So for attackers, Villa is good. For defense, it's a little bit tricky. But I definitely think that Aston Villa is not the most tough opponent for City, and I think that City has a really good double game week fixture double up with Crystal Palace and Aston Villa. So I would go for Cancelo for sure, and personally I would also go for another City defender. And depending on your budget, you could go for Diaz. I think Diaz is a better option than Stones just because he gets more bonus points. But Stones definitely for the value and if he plays, which he probably will, because when Stones and Diaz play together, City are the most solid defensively, statistically. They concede the least goals. So he's probably going to play, and for 5 million he's a great option. So I would definitely double up on the City defense, unless you want to go for a double City attack, of course. But I prefer defense because they haven't scored too many goals this year, but they kept a lot of clean sheets. For the midfielder, of course, I'm going to bring in De Bruyne. He is just the number 1 in City, isn't he? Like this season, he has just been outstanding. He hasn't been outstanding in amount of goals and assists. He has a lot of opportunities. He creates a lot of opportunities for his teammates. The team just doesn't score the goals that he sets them up for, and also himself, when he gets the great opportunities, he doesn't always score. Like yesterday, I watched the game against Brighton. He had kind of like a one-on-one with the keeper, and he shot right at the keeper. I mean, it was a really long run. He was tired, probably, and of course, it's difficult to be super, have a lot of composure in that type of opportunity when you have run the whole pitch. But he should have just shot near post, and it could have been a goal. But he shot right at the keeper. But he has a lot of opportunities. He's just so good with the ball. He sets up his teammates really nicely. He should definitely be in the team. And City has the most big chances created in the last 6 games out of any team, with 18. And De Bruyne is a big part of that. So I think you should definitely include De Bruyne in your team. And as we spoke, as I mentioned a little bit before, Crystal Palace is definitely a team to target right now for an attacker. Aston Villa is a little bit tricky because they have pretty good defensively, but I think City will win the game. For the next midfielder, I would definitely include Salah. Salah hasn't scored for the past 3 games, I think, which is kind of untypical Salah because you always kind of expect him to score every week. But he is the kind of guy who he could score anytime, pretty much. And they are playing Man United, and Man United is a little bit a tricky one as well. Like, I think that they have looked pretty good defensively recently. However, if you look at their stats, they only kept 2 clean sheets, I think, in the past game weeks. 6 game weeks, and they conceded 7, which is not too much, but Salah is Salah. Liverpool is very attacking, and United is also very attacking, so I think in that game there are going to be goals, and I think Salah is probably going to be involved in at least one of them. And then they're playing Burnley, which I definitely think that Liverpool will win, and Salah is also on penalties, which is a great thing to have for a player in FPL, because penalties are so important this year, right? So definitely include Salah. And the next one, of course, they are playing each other. Fernandes, he's number 1 in United. Like, if you watch him play, he's pretty much creating almost everything. Sometimes he gets unlucky and doesn't get the FPL points, like last game week. It doesn't happen often. Like, it seems like he scores every week. It seems like he's getting bonus points every week. But this game week, during the free hit game week 18, he didn't get any attacking returns, which was too bad, especially for players who FPL managers who captain him. But he is a great player, and even though they are playing Liverpool, I think that Liverpool defensively are looking better than they were when they started losing out on Van Dijk and starting using new players in the defense for this season. I think that they have improved, but there are definitely opportunities for United to score, and Fernandes is probably going to be involved, and he's also on their penalties. And then they are playing Fulham, which it's always a team you want to target. I watched the game against Spurs yesterday, and Fulham, I mean, they don't look too bad. And they did get a point, but Spurs were so close to winning the game with Son missing his chance. If he scored that chance, it would be 2-0, and maybe the goal that Fulham scored would never have happened. But yeah, I think that Fernandes is the player you should have in your team. Then we get into a little bit more interesting picks, because until now it's pretty much been the template picks that most people are going to go for. I would probably include Barnes in this team. He's a little bit of a differential. They are playing Southampton and Chelsea, which on paper looks maybe kind of difficult. However, if you look at the statistics, Southampton have kept 3 clean sheets in the past game weeks, and they have only conceded 2 goals, I think, which is pretty good. However, there are of course opportunities for Leicester to score against them. But Southampton, I would say, is the trickiest one of these 2 games, because Chelsea is a team who, if I look at the stats here, have conceded 9 goals in the past 6 game week and only kept 1 clean sheet. And they are looking a bit shaky, which they have done for the past 3 game weeks, I think, since the loss against Arsenal. And I think that Leicester have contributed to score there, and Barnes have looked really good. He is the 5th best among shots in the Premier League in the past 6 games, I think, with 12, where 3 of them have been on target, and he also scored 2 goals. And he is very attacking, he gets the opportunities. So he is a little bit differential, and I think that Leicester is a team that you could target in this double game week for attacking returns. Not so much maybe defensively, but attacking. And therefore I would also include Vardy in this team, because even though he doesn't look like he's so involved in the game when you watch him play, like, he can go missing the whole game, and then he gets one opportunity or he gets a penalty and he gets the goal, and he might even get the bonus points. But he's a player that I would definitely include if you're going to go for Leicester. I myself am going to have him in my team. I already have him in my team, and I'm hoping that he's going to produce. Right now he's a little bit kind of injury concern, but I read some news and I read that he will probably play this double game week, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. And if you want to free it, you can just wait until the last minute to see if he's going to play or not. Otherwise, you can transfer him out to someone else. The next player I would go for is Antonio. This player is another West Ham player, because I think that West Ham has the best double game week fixtures. And Antonio is now back from injury. He's been injured for a long time. In the beginning of the season, he had 3 goals in 6 games, I think. And he was 5th on shots on target in that period of time. And when you watch him play, he's just a beast. He just looks so like a beast. Like, he scores. He's a striker who scores goals. And there's a lot of hype around him, especially if you watch other FPL YouTubers. There's a lot of hype around him. And I understand why. Like, West Ham, it doesn't seem like they have a proper striker when he's gone. Now Aller has transferred to Ajax, I think. So they are in the need of a good striker, and I think Antonio is a good striker. And I think that he's definitely going to be a player to perform in this double game week. I myself is having him in my team as well, and I think that he's going to be good. So for 6.2 million, I think he's definitely one of the better options you can go for a cheaper striker in this double game week. And the next one is Bamford. I told you there's a team that where the fixtures have been changed, and that is Leeds. Before they were going to play Brighton and Southampton, and now their game against Southampton has been postponed. And it kind of changes the strategy a little bit, because you do want to have players that play 2 games in the double game week. However, I think the game against Brighton is so good that you might even want to include Bamford anyways. I have him in my team, and I'm gonna stick with him, of course. I'm not gonna switch him out. If you're going for a free hit, you could go for someone else. If you have the money to stretch a little bit, I would actually maybe suggest like Abraham could be a good differential, even though Chelsea is looking a little bit iffy. Chelsea is playing Fulham and Leicester, but against Fulham I think that will score, and probably against Leicester as well, maybe. And Abraham is looking pretty good for the cash you're paying for him. So there are options you can go for. Adams for Southampton only have one game as well, and is also a bit injured. So in the price range, there's not too many great options, especially for players that have double game week. But I think the Bamford is still a good option if you wanna go for him. He just looks great. Like he's on top. He's top 3 again, I think, with points for strikers this season so far, and he's the best value pick for a striker. And for the captain for this game week, I would go for De Bruyne over Salah. I think that those, like, when you go for captain, you don't want to risk it too much and go for Antonio or Bamford or Vardy. I would go for one of the safer options, which are De Bruyne, Salah, or Fernandes. I think that Salah with 2 home games, even though Fernandes performs really well in away games, I think that Salah might be edging a little bit this game week for vice captain. But De Bruyne has the best fixtures out of these 3, and he looks really good. So I would go for De Bruyne. And for the bench, I would just fill it out with whatever cheap options you have that actually plays. As you see now, my playing bench players, Dallas, Smith Rowe, Mitchell, all of them just have 1 game. It's not double game week players, so you could find double game week players to play as well. But I usually, when you free hit, you're kind of counting on your team to play and not counting on the bench to come on. So I would invest all my money on the first starting 11, and then maybe have a few bench that plays, but you don't want to have to focus on having like players that is good on the bench to spend a lot more money. Like Soucek you could have instead of Smith Rowe, but I would rather focus on the cheaper bench. Next up is the Wildcard team. And of course the strategy is a little bit different here, because this is a team you want to keep for a long time, especially since this is your last Wildcard chip that you can use this season. You want to have a team that you can play for a lot of game weeks, and then maybe switch out the player here and then, of course, as the season progresses. For the double game week, I would definitely focus on players that are playing in double game week, as well as having some players that maybe not playing double game week, but are good for future fixtures. In the goal for this wildcard team, I would go for De Gea. They are playing Liverpool, which I wouldn't really count on a clean sheet, but they are playing Fulham, and I think that they're going to keep a clean sheet there. And the upcoming fixtures are actually pretty good for United, so I think that having De Gea as a keeper is a good option for a wildcard team. Fabianski, a little bit more risky. I think their fixture is not as good as United, so I would go for De Gea. For the defense, it's kind of similar with Kufal, Stones, and Cancelo, but I'll also add Wan-Bissaka because the reason I just have De Gea, I think the fixtures are looking pretty good after the double game week, and therefore they are looking pretty solid in defensively. They have been looking pretty solid lately, so I would go for them. And you could also of course have Maguire for the same price as Wan-Bissaka, but I think Wan-Bissaka has the opportunity to get crosses, even though Maguire is good at set pieces for heading. You can go for either one pretty much, but I like to have wingbacks, fullbacks instead of centre backs because of the opportunity of having assists. It feels like they're getting more up in the pitch and high chance of attacking returns. Otherwise, I explained to you before why I want to go for the defense for the free hit, and it's pretty much the same for the double game week. And City has really good fixtures after the double game week now, so City you should definitely include a triple up in your wildcard if you're gonna wildcard. And for the midfield, pretty much the same as the free hit, except I would go for Son instead of Barnes. Son only has one game this game week instead of a double up, but they are playing Sheffield United, which is a really good game on paper. They just won their first game against Newcastle 1-0 and kept their first clean sheet this season. So even though they won 1-0, I think that Tottenham is definitely going to win. And Son is looking really good. He doesn't get many shots, but he's very clinical. Like yesterday when he played against Fulham, he had a shot on the inside of the post. He was so close to score. He's a really good player, and I would definitely go for him instead of having like a player like Barnes, because Tottenham's fixture is not too bad either. And I think that he, with one game week against Sheffield United, could actually outscore a lot of other midfielders having double game weeks if Tottenham has a good game week, which I think they will. For the attackers, I will stick with Antonio and Bamford, two good budget options that have pretty good fixtures, but also I think that they will definitely perform in the upcoming weeks in the upcoming part of the season. Bamford, no-brainer, you should definitely include. Antonio, he's looked really good in the beginning of the season, as I said. We'll have to see how he progresses now, and with his injury, if he's going to stay fit and how he's going to look. I have him in my team. I'm going to keep him in my team until he gets injured again, pretty much, or if he just completely falls out of performance. But I think that those two are good budget options to have in your team, especially if you get a wild card. For the bench then, I would go pretty much similar to the last one as well. However, I would include Adams as a third striker option. I think right now he is a little bit injury concerned, but I read some papers that he might even be fit for double game week now. So he will hopefully be fit for after double game week. So I would definitely look for him in a wild card. He is looking really good in Southampton, and now when Ings is back, their partnership is really good, and I think that he will definitely score some points. Southampton's fixtures are difficult, or they're not easy at least, after double game week, and even during double game week. They're playing Leicester, I think. Their fixtures are pretty difficult after it, so I wouldn't go for too many Southampton players in a wild card. You have the defenders that have performed really, really well, they do keep clean sheets, but I'm not sure how much I would bank on them continuing keeping clean sheets, especially when you can go for a City defense and even a United or a West Ham defender. But I think that this team is pretty solid. If I was going to wild card this game week, I would go for this team. It is a team that is pretty good for the double game week, but it's also pretty good going forward. And then you can switch out some players however you feel like during the upcoming weeks. If you have money, just one suggestion: if you have like a high team value and you have money to upgrade some parts, you could upgrade Smith Rowe to Saka. You can also upgrade Stones to Diaz. Those are two players that I would look at or look for to upgrade. You could also, I don't really like having two playing goalkeepers. It feels like a waste of money. I just have one goalkeeper and having set for the whole season pretty much until I change with a wild card or whatever. But you could also upgrade Steer to a goalkeeper that actually plays, and you can switch De Gea to Steer whenever you feel like, because if you only have De Gea, you're stuck with De Gea and maybe Wan-Bissaka double up some game weeks, even though they played against maybe a difficult opponent. So you could double up on the two playing goalkeepers, of course. Otherwise, I would be pretty happy having this team as my wildcard team. I'm not going to wildcard. I have a team that I'm pretty happy with for this double game week. I will show you the team in the next video. And just show you how I'm setting up my team. But for you, using a wildcard, I think this team is definitely a good option. And for the captain this game, as I said before, De Bruyne and Salah, I would go for. You could also go for Son. I think the Son is a good option, even though he only has one game this game week. But he could be a good option, especially for a wise captain. I wouldn't captain him, but as a wise captain, he could be good. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, then please stick around. I will upload more videos in the future. And also comment if you have any questions or any suggestions for improvement on these teams. How would you set up your free hit or your wildcard team? Also, are you using your free hit or wildcard? I think most people probably use the free hit during the game week 18. But I know that people are going to use it now as a wildcard, so it's interesting to hear about how you're doing this game week.